Welcome back. Vickie Cartwright was recently given the post of Broward School Superintendent, a position she held on an interim basis since August. We talk about school safety, but I began the conversation with her about her goals for the district.
So my main goals for the objective right now for the school district is really leading us forward, is really taking us where we are today, building upon the areas of success that we already have, and then looking at those areas of opportunity in order to make sure that we are laser-like focusing in on that right now. In order to do that, some of the things that we're doing right away is we are going to be refreshing our strategic plan. So here in the very near future, we're going to be going out and to get our community feedback with our school board members as well, in order for us to design out our strategic goals as well as our guardrails. And so this is one of the ways in which we can make sure that we have that laser focus as we proceed forward. In the interim, continuing to make sure that we are remaining focused on our student outcomes. In other words, how are our students doing? Making sure that we're addressing some of those academic areas, because the COVID slide is a reality and across this entire nation, and we're not exempt from that, but also ensuring that we're taking care of the whole child. So we have a lot of mental health issues that we're seeing. We're seeing some extreme behaviors as well that we hadn't previously seen. And so we're really focused in on that, because in order to address the academics, we have to make sure that we're providing that safe and secure environment where students feel comfortable coming to school and interacting with their teachers. So having that strong relationship building that we're working intentionally on right now to make sure that, again, we're taking care of the needs of the whole child and not just the academic needs.
You're now leading a district that is still suffering the after effects of what happened at Stoneman Douglas. And I think one of the things that came out of that, which led to Robert Runcie being removed and leaving the district, was a lack of trust in him, in part because I think that information that came out during his tenure ended up showing that he wasn't always honest and straightforward, whether it was being deceptive about the Promise program, whether it was any number of things, that there was a lack of candor. From your perspective, what commitment, what guarantees can you give to the public that you will be honest, transparent with them, giving them information, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, however it reflects on the school district? I mean, that is an important part of it, that you have to be honest with the public. Otherwise, you'll lose that trust that you need to rebuild now.
While I can't comment to the previous superintendent, only because I was not a part of that relationship, what I can say is under my leadership, I know that safety and security has been one of the front and center things that I have been addressing under my leadership since I started all the way back in August. One of the things that we are recognizing is we want to make sure that we are transparent with our community. Even on prior interviews that I've done with our community, so information is flowing out to our community, I've been very intentional in making sure that we're being transparent. Yes, we are having an increase in the amount of disruptive behavior that we're seeing at schools. And here's what we're doing about it in order to address this. I know already, for example, right now, when I go back and I take a look at our behavior threat assessments and just doing a comparison to get a better idea of where are we, how are we doing on that. This year alone, we're already, and the year's not over, we've already exceeded what we had that very first year that we implemented the behavior threat assessments from August 2019 to June 2020, where we had at that point in time for the year, we had 2,582 threat assessments that were completed. But for this school year, just through the month of February, where we are, we've had 2,874 threat assessments. So that is something that, again, I'm not going to hide from the data. The data is the data. But what are we doing about it, I think, is important. And how are we monitoring? And why is that so important?
Earlier, I spoke to Sheriff Gualtieri, who's the head of the MSD Commission. I know that he's spoken to you. He also told me he's looking forward to sitting down with you again and going through some of this issues, because he talked a lot about threat assessments. And as you're looking at the threat assessments, there's a couple of issues that came up in my conversations with him. One was, do the threat assessments that you do follow the student if they move from one school within the district to another, because that had been an issue. And second, when a student either leaves Broward or comes into the Broward School District, are you aware if the threat assessments that may have been done with that student stays with that student and follows it, so that the new school, so that the new staff has some understanding, aren't starting from ground zero?
You know, that's a very good question. So Broward Schools did replace its decentralized paper-based system with a centralized digital system that enables the auditing of every step in that process. We take it very seriously. In fact, I have a team that they meet on very frequently, and in order to go back and review threat assessments within the district to ensure that we have the continuity that is occurring, and that those things that need to be reported are being reported. And if there's something that's missing, then this team also goes back and works with that school site and make sure that we make corrective actions. By doing the decentralized process, and that was problematic, because you're right, when a student left one campus and went to another campus, it was very difficult to track. Having that centralized digital system at this point in time, now that follows the student. So when they go from school A to school B within Broward County Public Schools, they're able to, all of that information is following them. So it allows for that, again, the continuity that we're looking for. And we're being very, very cognizant of that.
I think the issue that the public and that I had with the Promise program, as we learned more about it following what happened in Parkland, was that the quote-unquote success rate of the program that the previous superintendent used to cite all the time was really built on a house of cards. If a student had, been put into the Promise program, let's say for graffiti or for whatever type of incident that may have occurred, if they didn't commit that exact same offense for a year, then that student was seen as being a success within the Promise program. They could have committed other incidents, they could have committed other types of crimes, and that would not have counted against what they were doing within the Promise program. And I think that's when you realize that's when I understood that the district was at the time playing a lot of games and trying to mislead the public about what a great program it was when it really wasn't. What steps are you taking to make sure that isn't occurring again?
So that's a very good point, and those are conversations that we do still have to have as to what are our measuring techniques. In other words, how are we actually measuring success, and what are those outcomes, and what does that look like? So to answer your question, I don't have the answer on that just yet, but it is something that we are going to be reviewing is how are we measuring success, because those have to be very intentional and we also have to explain openly and transparently what those measures are. So that way it leads to that transparency that we need to have.
I guess more broadly, may just back it up and ask it this way. Obviously, you weren't here when Parkland took place. It wasn't part of, you weren't part of the school district at the time, but how much does the weight of Parkland fall on you? How much do you feel the responsibility, particularly in a district like Broward that suffered this, of guaranteeing that something like this doesn't happen again?
The weight of what happened in Parkland is extremely heavy on my shoulders. The loss of life is something that it hits my soul. And not to mention all those that were also injured and impacted that are continuing to live with this on a daily basis. That is why, and it's one of my driving forces, to be honest with you, as to why I take school safety so seriously, because we have to take a layered approach We understand that because one way is not going to give you 100%. And even on a layered approach, unfortunately, it may not give you 100%. But the goal is to make sure that you create environments that are as safe as humanly possible.